we go. Prepare yourselves, because your blood is about to boil. Bill Maher did a little new rules segment here where he talks about what went wrong in the election for Kamala Harris and what Democrats are doing wrong. And I'm not kidding when I say virtually every word out of his mouth is complete bullshit. So let's watch, and then we'll break it down.
And finally, new rule, someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
You're Bill Maher. The number of times you've called Trump voters stupid is probably too much to count. What is this nonsense? What is this revisionist history? You can't call them stupid, okay? Not only have you called Trump voters stupid, your take is like the entire American public is fucking stupid. What is this? What, are you just going to hide the fact that you've said that countless times? Jesus Christ.
Wow, wow, wow. Agreement with Kyle Kulinski. Hey, Kyle, I agree with you. Finally, on some point that you're making. Because as you talked about revisionist history, don't these guys realize, even for yourself, KKK, even for yourself, you can go back and find out, play video clips of you guys saying all sorts of things and then saying you never said it, or telling everybody that you shouldn't be doing those kind of things when you've done it a million times in the past. So I completely agree with you, but there's going to be points of disagreement that are coming up. Let's check those out right now.
I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended.
So
and
true.
You can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
I love how, okay, so Bill Maher is pissed at the so-called far left, and he goes after them. What influence did they have in this election?
Are you actually asking that question? Kyle Kulinski? To even bring that question up? You're stupider than I even thought. Seriously, how stupid do you have to be to bring up that question in terms of what did the far left have to do in terms of being a part of this election cycle? Are you effing kidding me, Kyle Kulinski? I got to hear more of this, bruh.
What role did they play in this election? They're non-existent. They're non-existent. The Democratic Party, led by Kamala Harris, the idea that you're linking her and her campaign to the far left,
yes,
and the only appearance the far left made was berating her correctly at her rallies and saying, hey, stop the genocide in Gaza. And what does he do? He's just working backwards from his priors. I don't like the far left. I'm going to find a way to beat up on the far left.
Unbelievable.
That's the whole point of this.
Stay in that lane, Kyle.
Let's do an objective analysis of what happened and try to fix it for the future. It's got nothing to do with that.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, a.k.a. their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden. They wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become.
But what were we hearing from Kyle Kulinski all this time? Kamala's doing great. The bullshit polls he was talking about that were all leftist polls, Democratic pollsters, corporate pollsters, they were all absolutely unbelievable. That even Texas was in play, Florida was in play. Iowa was in play because Ann Stupid Seltzer, who is now retired and drinking a lot of Alka-Seltzer.
A Portlandia sketch.
So in other words, Kamala Harris routinely welcomed in Republicans, campaigned with Liz Cheney, made clear she was going to represent all Americans, made clear she would put a Republican in her cabinet, did everything Bill Maher is implying here that she didn't do. And he's still going to bring this up as if it was the problem in the election.
It was.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. The groupthink among all these elite idiots on TV is so thick.
A bunch of...
You've got to add the group retardedness of the progressive left, of which you're part of, Kyle Kulinski, to be a part of that bullshit mess.
Privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
He's just beating up a straw man. That's all he's doing. I actually heard very little talk about the role of race and gender in this. Very, very little.
Then you're an idiot.
Maybe there was one clip where I saw it and we covered it, but 95% of the commentary is not about that at all.
No, not
and
really.
By the way, let's be clear. The idea that maybe gender played some role in this, if you deny that, I think you're being kind of silly. I definitely think it plays some role in this. Now, is it determinative? No. But look at
Then
who's trying to
what's the
shut down
difference?
conversation now, right? And again, he's pretending like everybody has concluded it's only because of race and gender that Kamala lost. I haven't heard anybody say that.
Sexism?
Oh my God.
Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office. But they do. They live here, and they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal, racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism and sexism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives.
Unbelievable.
Oh, interesting. Then it looks like they probably should have voted for Kamala Harris, who was saying that nonstop, whereas Trump was saying the opposite, that we're a fucking garbage can, and he won. None of this is...
Again, more lies. He never said that. There was a comedian that said that. And guess what? You got to learn, Kyle Kulinski, that there's something called comedy. And then there's something, what? What's that word? Oh, you're going to call that racist. You're going to call that bigoted. I don't think the Puerto Ricans felt that way, Kyle Kulinski. And guess what? Their voting patterns showed that you were wrong.
Is connected to anything that actually happened. None of it. She stressed all the time that, oh, I love that this is the greatest country in the world and shit like that. And she didn't win.
Because she was lying.
So what are you doing here, Bill? What are you doing?
If racism is built into our society, white progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity.
Kamala ran on an aggressive crackdown on the border.
Bullshit.
She brought up the bill, the bipartisan bill that would have cracked down on the border.
Bullshit.
And now, so she did that. She didn't win. And your takeaway is, you should have been in favor of a crackdown on the border.
She
But
wasn't.
She was, Bill.
No,
But
she
was.
wasn't.
Oh, my God.
Indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
They just want prices to go down. Why don't you understand that? Why didn't you propose, like, I don't know, maybe a ban on price gouging?
That's
at the
a
grocery
bullshit
store?
plan.
Maybe you should have done that. They want the cops to show up if you call them. Yeah, maybe you should have, like, ran somebody who was, like, a cop or something. Maybe you would have won then. Like, he's not even trying to connect this to reality at this point.
Kamala
He
spent
is.
100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but fuck your feelings. Look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get-go. No need to look into that. We know that a priori, which is a Latin phrase the Red Hat people wouldn't have a clue about. But they don't need to. Have you seen my "In This House We Believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it.
Does he think COVID played literally any role in this election at all?
Yes, it played a huge role, you idiot.
He can't be that stupid.
No, you're stupid.
You think COVID
Yes.
played a role in this election?
Absolutely.
What am I going to do with this guy? He's just one giant ball of smugness oozing out from every pore.
The New York Times called it racist. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much incest, has unfortunately had children who are retarded.
Absolutely. Mucho retarded.
And the same thing can happen to ideas if they are also conceived in an atmosphere of intellectual incest. Maybe take the clothespins off your noses and actually converse with the other half of the country. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with.
He's acting like she didn't run around with Liz Cheney. He's acting like she didn't run around with Liz Cheney. He's acting like she didn't say, I'll have a Republican in my administration. He's acting like, you know, wokeness killed her campaign when she didn't say shit about wokeness.
She said it.
Like, okay, this is how media narratives just totally spin out of control.
Mm-hmm.
You have this thing, which is the, you know, favorite pinata of everybody online beating up wokeness, and then
It
it
should
gets
be
to a
beaten
point
up.
where the perception of what's happening is just not remotely connected to what actually happened. I literally don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with somebody like this who's this disconnected from what actually happened.
What good is liberalism if you don't win elections? Last week, Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton said, I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that.
That is
Yes,
so
there's
true.
the problem in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Because Congressman Moulton sounds reasonable to me, but his campaign manager immediately resigned in protest. Let me make
F
this as
him.
plain as I can to the smart people. The campaign manager who resigned, yeah, let that person go.
Yeah.
Marginalize that guy.
Absolutely.
Kamala never mentioned trans people.
She didn't have
Literally
to.
Never mentioned trans people.
She did it before.
The idea that you're blaming trans people for this election loss is preposterous, or any position Democrats took on any trans-related issue. She never mentioned it. She never mentioned it. And now...
She didn't have to mention it, Kyle. Kulinski. She talked about it in an interview. For the entire 3.5 years that she and Joe Biden were in office with the Biden administration, they fought for trans rights, and they basically wanted to what? Decimate, destroy women's rights in the process. Girls' rights were being destroyed. Women's rights were being destroyed. Why? So men's rights in the transgender movement could be what? Put above women's rights. And if you don't think that had any type of a blowback on the election, then Kyle Kulinski, you don't know shit.
Now what you're seeing is the pre-capitulation to Trumpism, where idiots like Seth Moulton think, well, if we just check the right boxes on the right issues to actually agree with Trump and Trumpism, then we'll be able to win next time. That's
Don't
his
listen
take.
to him.
You fucking idiots.
No,
They
you
did a
are the
blind
effing
poll on
idiot.
this. 80% of voters preferred Kamala Harris's policies to Trump's policies.
That's just
The idea is
bullshit.
just, oh, you just check the boxes on the right things. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with that. Trump has a narrative, and the narrative is blame the immigrants, blame the trans people, blame Hollywood for all your problems, blame the Democratic elites. Democrats don't have a narrative. They just have a sheet of paper they give you. Here are my policies. Look through this. That's all they have. And people are angry. They're pissed off, and they want somebody to blame. And so you got to give them the real people to blame. Now, Bill wants to throw trans people under the bus.
No,
this
he doesn't.
election had nothing to do with trans people.
Yes, it did.
You know who
a
you
lot.
actually need to throw under the bus? The
You.
big money donors, the corporations, the billionaires, the Wall Street CEOs, the people who rigged this system against regular people and for them. That's what you got to do. Notice, there's literally nothing about class in this. Nothing.
Try making too woke be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face.
Look at how smug he is. Look, I'm going to make this as simple as possible. You
And
ready?
you're not smug either,
Here's what
Kyle?
Kamala didn't mention. Race, gender, trans people, pronouns,
Bullshit.
Latinx, cancel
Bullshit.
culture,
Bullshit.
political correctness.
Bullshit.
She stressed that she would represent all Americans.
Bullshit.
She ran to the right on the border.
Bullshit.
She talked about owning a gun.
Bullshit.
She ran on freedom, and she ran on patriotism.
Bullshit.
12 things I just gave you.
All bullshit.
Every single one of them, Bill Maher would say,
Bullshit.
that's how you win if you do those things. She did that, and she lost.
Because she
Maybe
was
you don't know what the
lying
fuck you're
about
talking
them.
About Bill Maher.
Maybe you don't,
And
Kyle
maybe
KKK
you just
Kulinski.
default to blaming anything and everything on wokeness because you don't like wokeness.
That's right.
It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable, this shit.
I will conclude by saying the reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment.
That's
And now,
bullshit.
there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything. House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, and left us completely unprotected and ready to be violated. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody!
This is what's so frustrating, is Kamala ran the platonic ideal of a Bill Maher campaign, and she lost. And here he is berating her after she ran the exact kind of campaign he would have wanted to see.
It was all lies,
He would have
Kyle.
wanted her to not mention race, gender, trans people, pronouns, Latinx, political correctness. He would have wanted her to run on patriotism and freedom, I own a gun, stuff like that. He would have wanted that, and he got it, and she lost, and he's still berating her.
Because she mentioned that one time. She came on Oprah. I got a Glock. Her idiot vice president talking about being a hunter didn't even know how to load a freaking shotgun. The reason why this happened, Kyle KKK Kulinski, is because the American people, nearly 80 million, basically said, hey, Kamala, you're full of shit. You're a lying sack of crap. Don't tell me that you're for the Second Amendment just because you own a gun. I call BS. Don't say that you're now, the person that's been trying to seal the border. You were doing it for 3.5, 4 years. I call BS. How many, when they said people that cross the border illegally, is that a crime? Raise your hands if you think it is. They never raise their hands because they don't think it's a crime. They let 10 to 15 million people in, and now she wants to be known as a person who's what? Hard on the border? Strict on the border? She's to the right of Trump on the border? That's all BS. We call BS. Everything you mentioned there, Kyle, KKK Kulinski, it's all lies, obfuscation, lies of omission. That's all it is. I agreed probably with about 80 to 90% of Bill Maher said. And I hope you stay in your lane. Because as long as you guys stay in this lane that you're driving down, Kyle KKK Kulinski, guess what? You're going to continue to lose. You can take that to the bank. Folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, you all know what to do. Sign up. Hit that button. Notification. Share, like. You all know what to do. Put your comments down below. What side are you on? Bill Maher? Me? Kyle KKK Kulinski? I'd like to certainly know in your comments below. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're just wrong. Until next time, folks, y'all take care and stay safe.